Lego, what the hell are you talking about, man? Remember back when the trade was made, you said it was an okay move? Oh, look at you caught in 4K. Look at you backtracking on your word. And yeah, that might be the case. While it definitely is true that sometimes as a hockey YouTuber making videos about events as they happen, you get clowned on once in a while by fate. You get clowned on by the players that you talk about. You get clowned on by the events in time that unfold after you say certain things. While it's true that I went out there a few years ago and said that the Oliver Ekman-Larsson trade was not the worst thing in the world, I feel like now we gotta go out there and talk about it for what it really is. The Oliver Ekman-Larsson trade was the worst trade in Vancouver Canucks history. And I'm including all the stuff with former stars like Cam Neely, Ryan Kessler. There are a few other trades that come to mind right away, but OEL. This trade, I think, is the worst trade the Vancouver Canucks have ever made. And it's not because Oliver Ekman-Larsson is a bad player, or because Conor Garland is a bad player, but because of what this trade did for the Vancouver Canucks and their salary cap structure. You see, back when the OEL trade was made, the biggest component of the deal departing Vancouver was Loui Eriksson, the $6 million man who was set to expiring the next year, and a guy who had been a meme in this community for so long because he was getting 6x6, he was not good, and he became more so of a depth forward that played a two-way defensively responsible role, rather than the 30-goal, 60-point guy the Canucks thought they were getting when they signed him after his season with the Boston Bruins. Loui Eriksson was a meme, and he affected this team so long because he was on the team for so long, making that $6 million AAV. Well, when the Vancouver Canucks traded away Beagle, Eriksson, and Roussel, all guys who were going to expire the next season, alongside their 2021 first-round pick, which ended up becoming Dylan Guenther, who is a Canadian World Junior legend up there with Crosby and Eberle, when you have this trade get executed the way that it did, and you get Conor Garland and OEL in return, two guys that are not bad, necessarily. Like, OEL, okay, yeah, he's not the best. Conor Garland, I'd say, is pretty good. But when you take a look at the implications on the cap of this trade years down the line, what happened? Well, for one, you have Loui Eriksson, Beagle, and Roussel, who all expired for Arizona. That's a boatload of cap space off their books, and they could use that cap in a weaponizing type of manner. They could make trades for other teams' LTIR guys, retain salary for even more rental deals, and gather picks in the process. Okay, Arizona's weaponizing the cap they were able to free up by trading away these two guys and getting 3 expiring Canucks contracts in return. But then you look at Vancouver, and you say, Oliver Ekman-Larsson was making so much money until the end of 2027? The Canucks had 4 years left to pay OEL $7 million a year because there was salary retained on his $8 million AAV contract. And he had Conor Garland, who was re-signed to a contract that admittedly is pretty okay. $4.9 million for the services that Garland provides, not bad. Sure, you could say the Canucks are cap-strapped, and Conor Garland was the first name to be mentioned to being moved, but in the context of what this trade did for the team, up until the OEL buyout from a few days ago, the Canucks were in such a terrible position with their own cap that we were already starting to see conversations about the Canucks moving down in the 2023 draft, from 11th to whatever, in order to free up money, trade away 11th and a Conor Garland to get some other lower pick, and free up that salary cap space. The Canucks were cap-strapped, and other teams knew that, so all the leverage the Canucks could have had in any sort of trade with Beauvillier, or a Garland, or a Besser, all of whom are not bad players, and they're pretty okay assets to have, the team had no leverage, and so other teams were like, okay, well, we know why you're trying to make this move. We're not stupid here. Like, we know you're not trading away Garland because he's a bad player. We know you're trading him away because you can't afford to pay him. And as a result, we have all the leverage here, Vancouver. And so the OEL buyout was so necessary in that with this cap savings the Canucks are able to gather for 2023-2024, Sure, it's not that big for the following years, but this season at least, it's $7 million in savings. Because the Canucks now have that opened up, all of a sudden there's a little bit more breathing room here. Not just for the team to get under the salary cap, but for the team to negotiate with other teams. For them to say, all right, well, we know that you weren't willing to make this Garland trade with us because we were cap-strapped and you had all the leverage. Well, now we bought out OEL, we got some money, and we're not too strapped anymore. Haha, how about that, other teams? And when you think about it like that, okay, it makes sense why this needed to be done, but just the implications about this in the background. Oliver Ekman-Larsson is going to be paid by the Vancouver Canucks $19 million total dollars, something like that, until the end of 2031. That's a decade from now. That's 8 years from now. OEL was acquired 2 years ago. OEL acquired in 2021, off the Canucks payroll in 2031. And you think about what the Canucks could have done had they just stuck around with Eriksson, Beagle, and Roussel for another year. They would have had cap savings. They would have had freed up money to do whatever it is they wanted to do in 2022. But no, they had to force the trade. Aquilini wanted to make the playoffs right away. He got 2 decent to okay assets in OEL and Conor Garland, sacrificed the future with Dylan Guenther, sacrificed the cap, and everything in between. This trade, with all the implications behind it, is the worst trade in Canucks history, because it handcuffed the team so badly when they had an opportunity to just sit around, wait, and free up money by not doing anything and getting Dylan Guenther in the process at the same time. OEL is kind of like the new Eriksson, is he not? I mean, of course, they're both Swedish, and of course they're making way too much money compared to what they were able to provide the team on the ice. But Loui Eriksson was signed back in 2016. That was a long time ago. 2016, and then he was traded away in 2021 for an even bigger anchor of a contract that was going till 2027. That contract was bought out, and now it's going to be on the books till 2031. You could say, in retrospect, that the Loui Eriksson signing is going to affect the Canucks from 2016 to 2031. Had that Eriksson signing not went down, the Canucks probably wouldn't have made the OEL trade in the first place. They probably wouldn't have had a need to make some sort of a drastic cap move in that respect. Sure, maybe they get OEL via other means. Maybe it happens eventually down the line because, I mean, the rumors were at the time that OEL only wanted to go to Vancouver and Boston, so there you go. But for the Canucks' sake, Loui Eriksson was such an important cog in this entire thing that it's baffling to me how it's still going to be on their back burner till 2030. From 2016 to 2031, that's 15 years worth of pain and salary cap penalties. Like, the Canucks have had so many years of having crap on their salary that wasn't really, helping them. The Luongo recapture penalty, the Holtby Virtanen buyouts, and now it's the OEL buyout. When was the last time this team actually had, proper cap structure? I don't know, dude. It's been a long time. Really long time. This trade, man. Retrospect. Man, hindsight is 20/20, isn't it? I know a lot of people said at the time that this was going to be a bad move because OEL was getting paid till 2027, but I was willing to hold on to the very small amount of hope that OEL might have just been able to bounce back. But he didn't. He was slow, not really great defensively, not good offensively either. He could get pucks on net, yes, but aside from that, I mean, what else is there to say? Thank you, Jim, right? Thank you, Jim. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below about OEL and the trade. Was it the worst trade in Vancouver Canucks franchise history? I'm gonna say so. From the salary cap perspective to Dylan Guenther right now, this was a bad trade. I hope you enjoyed this Juraj 99, and bye.